are being carried out under the Government of India's funding. Newsnight Desk, DD India.
Right, time now for our In Focus segment in which we are discussing about India-Cambodia relations on a new high. And joining me are Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunayath and Professor Swaran Singh. Ambassador Trigunayath is a former Indian ambassador to Jordan, Libya and Malta, and Professor Singh is with the School of International Studies at the Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Ambassador Trigunayath, Professor Singh, welcome to Newsnight. Good to have you join us on this discussion. Professor Singh, if I can start with you, would you like to give our viewers, those who are not familiar with the intricacies of the issue at hand here, walk our viewers through or give them an overview of India-Cambodia relations, why they are important?
Well, as you know, Ramesh, thank you for having me. And
welcome.
The India and Cambodia relations have been really ancient and historical. And as you know, your report mentioned about the renovation of the Angkor Wat temples, Priya temples of Lord Shiva, the most ancient temple. So up to the, I would say, 16th century, there have been many contacts, and then subsequently, because of the problems there, this all subsided. And then we rejuvenated the relationships when India became a partner in the 50s in the Commission and tried to stabilize the country. And again in 1980s, the pass of the Paris Peace Accords. So India has been one of the first countries to recognize two times. Firstly in 1952, which we are celebrating now, our 70 years of diplomatic relations, and second time in the 1980s after the problems that happened in the country. And you know, this is a very important visit also of the president, of the king, because it's happening after about 6 decades. His father had visited India, and the Prime Ministers Hun Sen and others have been traveling to India very frequently and very recently also. Prime Minister also spoke to the Prime Minister Hun Sen virtually last year. Also, it was chairing ASEAN, so we had relations that have been expanding both in the bilateral domain, and this was also the first country actually which hosted the ASEAN-India Dialogue Summit in many years ago. So I think that there are tremendous opportunities both in the strategic domain, in the cultural domain, civilizational, P2P connect, and trade and economic matters, which are being pursued. Right. India is committed to providing them all the assistance that is required in capacity building, hundreds of millions of dollars of lines of credits, scholarships, 200 scholarships, they may be increased this time, and more LOCs may be given, or the grants may be given for them. Yes, this is part of the SLMB project that we have with the country, CLMB project, in which in the agriculture sector and different sectors, India is trying to provide them all the capacity building assistance. So I think that is one. And secondly, in the defense and security area, which has been somewhat new, but this has been also beefing up quite strongly because being a part of ASEAN, also Cambodia acquires a greater strategic significance in the current scheme of things. I think that there are a lot of opportunities which will be discussed bilaterally, and there are excellent relations and the conservation of various architectural models there, frankly, for the Indians. Maybe tourism will be one more area in which they will try to persuade more people to visit. So this visit in a way is a symbolic visit and also a substantive visit.
Absolutely. Professor Singh, there's no denying that the visit of the King of Cambodia is high on symbolism. But if we were to delve deeper into the specifics, the nuts and bolts, as it were, of the bilateral ties, can both sides look to ramp up their relationship when it comes to connectivity, infrastructure, development, energy security, or even for that matter, defense and security? In your estimation, is there scope for doing more on these counts?
I think first of all, Ramesh, it is important to underline the kind of warmth and chemistry that exists between leaders and people on both sides, which makes decision making and then particularly implementing those decisions much more easier for both sides. So you have age-old civilizational bonds, you have 95% Theravada Buddhism, much of the people have lifestyles intrinsic to Indian culture. Language, again, the Khmer language is close to the Pahlavi script from south of India. So people to people and therefore leaders relationship get reflected then in contemporary
Indeed.
cooperation, whether it is conservation of temples like Angkor Wat and several others, or it is India participating in agricultural sector, education, providing scholarships, trainings of all kinds. In fact, there are the specifically designed modules and courses of training that Indian Army, for example, goes all the way there to provide them. So, whether it is credit lines being created for procuring Indian defense equipment, the fact that Cambodia is located in a area which is called Indochina, which is Vietnam, Cambodia and Laos, which is where the scenic and Indic civilizations had traditionally kind of merged and blended or, come to face. And that kind of essential, I think the civilizational connect between two sides make it very attractive. And of course, you can locate it whether in terms of both being partners in NAM, both being connected through ASEAN. For example, the first India-ASEAN summit was organized in Cambodia in 2002. So there could be multiple platforms and they become effective only because there is an essential DNA that kind of makes it easy to blend both sides. And then of course you have, for example, last year when India celebrated 30 years of India-ASEAN relations, Cambodia was in share in that sense in that year. And once you have essential understanding and trust between two people, I think cooperation becomes easier. But let me just make last point in 30 seconds. The challenge today, of course, is because Cambodia is now getting deeply entrenched with Chinese.
Right, Professor Singh, if you just hold your thought there for a moment. Professor Singh, we are getting these latest visuals of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's talks with the King of Cambodia in New Delhi just a short while ago. These are the latest visuals coming to you of that meeting that took place just moments ago in New Delhi. Remember, the King of Cambodia, as our guests, Professor Singh and Ambassador Trigunayat, were talking about a short while ago, is high on symbolism. This visit is taking place after almost 6 decades, and both sides looking to strengthen their bilateral relationship going forward as well in diverse areas, be it infrastructure, connectivity, as well as other forms of people-to-people ties as well. Right, Ambassador Trigunayat, if I can come back to you, looking at Cambodia and its foreign policy in particular, what do we know about their strategic calculus, as it were, because they are members of the ASEAN, they have ties with other countries in the region and beyond as well. What can or what should India be doing going forward to ramp up its ties with Cambodia, in particular at the bilateral level?
Well, as Professor was also mentioning that they have a strategic calculus and very strategically located, and to some extent have perforce been under influence of the Chinese as well. So, but at the same time, that does not take away the fact that they feel far more closer to India, and that is at the P2P level, at the civilizational level. So those are the bonds that we need to be nurtured further. Moreover, what India does, it does the best, and that is the capacity building of these countries. They require tremendous, assistance all the time, and that would need to be prepared and provided to them in whatever they want, the areas in which, whatever. Like, for example, we even provided them one of the first countries to get 325,000 vaccines during the pandemic. India provided 10,000 tons of rice to them. So whenever they need the assistance, that is given to them. It's like our neighborhood, the way we have non-reciprocal sort of policy. Even to buy the defense equipment, we have extended line of credit of $50 million. So I think that in the going forward, we will need to focus a little more on the security dimension of it, which is very important. Then they are also a partner of us in the Ganga Mekong initiative as well, So in that one also we work together. In the CLMV, they are very much part of that initiative that the government of India provides assistance under, and there is a special funding has been given under that. We have the Raksha Mantri has visited there. So I think that this will also be further discussed this time. In this visit, maybe there will be some announcements of the lines of credit and others of new projects, and that will be a good thing going forward.
Right, Professor Singh, when we talk about the various dimensions of the relationship, one keeps hearing about a connectivity project which links India, Myanmar and Thailand, the trilateral highway. There is a proposal on the table, we are given to understand, to extend that highway to other countries, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam as well. Could that be one concrete outcome or deliverable going forward? Number one. Number two, Ambassador Trigunath mentioned about India's capacity building efforts in countries around the world, including Cambodia. Could that be also a key area of cooperation going forward in terms of infrastructure development in particular?
Ramesh, the idea of having a direct rail line starting from New Delhi all the way to Hanoi has been about a 20 to 25 years old idea, and of course of that the trilateral expressway has now become far more potent in terms of decision making and implementation. But ultimately that connectivity could take us to Cambodia and Vietnam as well, and that connectivity is going to really be possible because India is quite attractive to these countries. The level of development in these countries is such that our goods and services, our training capsules, all become fairly attractive to these countries, and therefore that is possible, except that certain amount of attention has to be sort of given to those issue areas very clearly. Second, I think other than the defense cooperation, which I think provides a very solid backbone to any relationship, Indian foreign policy has been constantly focusing on culture and diaspora. And I think that is another thing which is often not highlighted, that even if it is a small country, there are about 1,500 to 2,000 people of Indian origin, Indian nationals, many of them with international organizations, who are there. And I think India, as we see Indian Prime Minister wherever he goes, connects with Indian diaspora, cultivating that diaspora along with defense cooperation would perhaps provide a certain both soft balancing and hard balancing of other competitors like China, we mentioned, which is becoming a major player in that region. So there are areas where specific initiatives can be made to ensure and showcase advantage India in that sense. And Cambodia would definitely be itself very willing now to ensure that it is not seen putting all eggs in one basket, and they would be happy to look at alternative. In fact, all of Southeast Asia has historically looked at India as an alternative to not becoming too much dependent on China, and particularly Indochina specifically are countries which would like to see India's greater injection of connectivity, investments, and overall engagement with these people.
Absolutely. So as my guests were saying in their interventions, India would do well to use both its soft and hard power to strengthen its ties with Cambodia going forward as well. On that note, may I thank both my guests, Professor Swaran Singh and Ambassador Anil Kumar Trigunath, for joining us on Newsnight and sharing your thoughts with our viewers at home and abroad. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Right, and moving on, North Korea